Babylon equals America. Let's deal with this subject. Anyway, this is you can say it's an update of a video that I just put up not too long ago. Actually, my last video, which was entitled Babylon equals or equal sign America. The video is not even 1 minute and 50 seconds long, but and inside of a couple of minutes I got 158 views, 34 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down so far, and I got a handful of comments, whatever, 4 or 5 comments, but what kind of stuck out to me, which I'm familiar with this scripture, and many of us that study, especially prophets, the prophetic scriptures, you know, Revelation 17 should come to mind, Revelation 18, you know, really most of the book of Revelation should come to mind. And these are some of the scriptures that you use to prove through the Spirit that Babylon, you know, when you read the scriptures, you come across the word Babylon. Sometimes it's talking about ancient Babylon, and sometimes it's talking about another Babylon, and sometimes the scripture will use the term the daughter of Babylon. So we know that there's an ancient Babylon, and we know that there's a daughter of Babylon. So who is the daughter of Babylon? And we teach that it's America. Now, what inspired me to do this little short video, Babylon equals America, is a comment that someone put on one of the Vocab Malone live streams. So I just jumped on it, you know. And we did videos on this before. You know, this is a spiritual thing. And sometimes Vocab will oh, and by the way, Vocab, if you're watching, the word cape, I said that it means a lie. You know, I looked it up. It was like 3:30 in the morning when I did the video. But anyway, I typed in cape in, and you know how you get, what do you call that when it's a misspelling? You get like the squiggly red line under it. So I said, well, let me put in capping. Now he came back and said capping is a lie, which I never heard the word. I never heard, to be honest, never heard the word capping and caping. So when I looked it up, capping or you're capping, it said to lie. So I said lie. All right, I was wrong on that, but now I know. Now, am I going to burn in hell for not knowing the meaning of the word caping? That's another video that you can do. Vocab is Apostle Tahar going to burn in hell for not knowing that particular word? Anyway, because they like to say, and see, these guys are uneducated. Well, where in the scripture does it say where did the Lord ever say get an education? Or you're going to burn in hell if you don't graduate high school? Anyway, or the Lord said in Paul said in 1 Corinthians 10 chapter, the Most High is going to use us to confound the wise, and he said he's going to use the foolishness of preaching. That's why we're out there on the streets, because a person whose spiritual eyes are not open, they're going to look at us like damn fools. Especially in the winter. He said, are these people out of their damn mind? They're out there in the cold ass winter in January, February, preaching, and nobody's listening to them. So they take us as being fools. And well, the Apostle Paul said, I become a fool for Yahushua. So anyway, building off of this new spirit is America Babylon. Last week, a couple of days ago, the whole thing was the 12 tribes sign. So now there's another spirit coming in. Is America Babylon? So that's the topic. That's the spirit that's out there. Anyway, one comment was put up, fishing for elect 144. And when I saw Jeremiah 51, I already knew what he was going to say. So I just read the scripture. Jeremiah 51 verse 7, 8, and 9. And this is how you would know that by reading this, Jeremiah 51 verses 7 to 9. Something should tell you that in the spirit that this is not talking about the ancient Babylon. And how do we know that? Well, let's read it. It says, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Okay, so we can say, oh, well, that could be talking about ancient Babylon, because the Lord did set up in Daniel 4:17, he sets up one and takes out another, so that it can be, I'm paraphrasing, so that it can be known he ruleth in the kingdom of men. I'm just paraphrasing it, but you can read it yourself. So you can read Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. So he said, okay, yeah, that's Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, that made, now the next line is, that made all the earth drunken. When you look up the word earth, the word is aratazah, which means the whole entire earth. Then you look up the word, where are we at? Let me bring this back. Yeah, I looked them up. I mean, you can look them up yourself. The word earth is aratazah, or as the
Strong's H776, Eretz.
He says Eretz, all right, which means the earth, the entire earth. It goes on to say that made the earth drunken. Now the word there is shakar, which means, let me look it up. Let me bring it up. To be or become drunk or drunken, be intoxicated, to become drunken, to make drunken, cause to be drunk, to cause to be drunk, to make oneself drunk. And as you read down, it says shakar, a primitive root to become tipsy. In a qualified sense, to satiate with a stimulating drink, or figuratively influence. Now, if you want to get money at like a woman that meets a man in the club, if that woman could get that man drunk or high off of drugs, all right, which also makes drugs make you drunk, alcohol makes you drunk. So she might be one of them women that want to get over on man. So the woman looks good, she dresses in a provocative way, she's in the club, and the man comes up, buys a drink. She doesn't drink. She might sip the drink, throw the drink out, because she want to have all the senses intact. But he might be the drinking type, and he looks like he got money. So she gets the guy to drink, and he becomes drunk. They take a taxi or Uber or Lyft to a hotel. And she might not even have to have sex with this guy, because he's a sloppy drunk, and she might kiss him on the head and rub him the right way or the wrong way. And might say, take off your jacket, take off your clothes. And in doing that, she can pull out his wallet and realize that he has a wad of money, and either take part of it or take all of it. And after the man goes to sleep, she leaves, and she got the money, and he might have rings on, or a Rolex watch or gold chain. So when he wakes up in the hotel, he realizes that his watch is missing, his Rolex is missing, his rings are missing, his gold chain is missing, his money is missing. And he has to go home to his wife. So he's not going to really call the police, because if it gets back to his wife, then you got to go to divorce court. Okay, so we know how the story goes, right? So basically, that's an influence. That's to, in other words, she can say, "Can I have your money?" And this guy said, "Oh yeah, you can have all my money." So what does she do? And then when they say, "You stole his money," no, she said, "No, I asked him for the money and he gave it." He said yes and gave it to me. But what did she do? She influenced him to do it in his drunk state. So this is what Esau did, and we're going to read that in Revelation, to the other nations. Let's come back. Let's go back to Jeremiah 51 verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, because the Most High raises up nations, raises up kingdoms, and bring other kingdoms down. When a new kingdom comes up, that means an old kingdom went down. That's just how it works. That's just how it works. It was considered, you would be considered crazy. This is what the people thought about Alexander the Greek, even thinking about going up against the mighty Medo-Persian Empire. They said this man was crazy, but the reason why he went up against the Greeks itself had constant wars. The whole movie at 300 goes into one of the stories, accounts. They had constant war with him. Why did the Greeks have constant war with the Medo-Persian Empire? Because the Most High put the spirit on them, because they were going to be the next great empire. And the same thing happened with Rome. During the time of the Maccabees, the Romans, which I believe at that time were the Etruscans, the Japhetic people, the toga and the rosemary wreath. Esau adopted that from the Japhetic people. And what happened was the Roman Empire became the next great empire, but the rulers were Edomites. Then there was a time where the Roman Empire continued, but Israelite men took the seats from the Roman Empire. That's why they watch us, man. That's why they watch us, because Esau knows the history of what they don't teach it in colleges. They don't teach you that Nerva was an Israelite or a so-called black man. They don't teach you that Commodus, the son of 300 a gladiator movie, Marcus Aurelius, which was the father of Commodus, were Jake. Esau is not going to teach you that. Esau is not going to teach you that. They're not going to teach you that Pessinus Niger was a Jake. They're not going to teach you that Septimius Severus was an Israelite, was a so-called black man. They're not going to teach you that. They're not going to teach you that Constantine the Great and that line of the Constantines were all so-called black people. Esau doesn't teach you. They don't go into that. They don't touch that. Their history really picks up during the time period of Columbus, during the time period of the Renaissance, because prior to that, you had so-called black people ruling. They don't want you to know that. And they call that time period medieval times, or the Dark Ages. And like I said, that's why they're watching Jake, because Jake is rising up. You have Jake that are going to colleges, they're becoming doctors, they're becoming lawyers, they're becoming politicians, Congress people, senators. Barack Obama became the first so-called black president. And see, when you see stuff like that, it makes you say, we were ruling over so-called white people. So when you think that way, you can say, well, you know what? If we ruled over them in the past, we can rule over them again. There's a reason why they keep that stuff out of the textbooks. Anyway, let me come back. I'm on a little rant. It says, Jeremiah 51 verse 7, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Reading that line, we don't know what's going on. Okay, it's talking about ancient Babylon. That made all the earth drunken. Well, wait a minute. The ancient Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar didn't have influence over the, and by the way, the word drunken in a figurative sense means an influence. It says that made all the earth drunken. They get in a couple of weeks, they're getting ready to have their General Assembly meeting, where you have all the major nations, even some of the small nations. They're going to all converge on the UN building, and they all have their name placards. It might say Iran, it might say Iraq, it might say Egypt, Israel, which shows you that they're all in cahoots with each other. It says that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Now, what does it mean the nations have drunken of her wine? Does that mean you had other nations go to America and drink liquor? No, it's talking about an influence. It's talking about being Europeanized, Americanized, like in Japan, China. They have McDonald's. Or if you go to Egypt, to the pyramids, if you go to look at the pyramids around, right behind you, you have Burger King, you have Wendy's, you have McDonald's. You know, you have all these different fast foods, which are mainly for like Americans and Europeans. When they go there, they want to eat American food. You had a thing called when you Romanized something, you had other nations that were taken over by the Roman Empire that became Romanized. You had people that were conquered by the Romans that wore togas and ate the food of the Roman system. Now, in America, what America pushed to the world was a thing called democracy, where the term democracy simply means people rule. Demo. That's where you get the word demographic from. People rule. And how do they rule? They rule by voting for somebody to be their leader. So all of these nations that will attend the UN General Assembly, all of those leaders were voted in by the people. But really, most of them were puppet leaders. So that's the main thing that this country, America, Babylon the Great, accomplished with these other nations. That they should, and they can be Muslims, they don't have to follow Christianity, because you have people that say the mark of the beast and his image is Christianity and the picture of Caesar Borgia. Ain't no Arabs got no picture of Caesar Borgia in their house. Ain't no Arabs in the Middle East going to church on Sunday. Now, you might have a handful of them, a small percentage of them that believe in Christianity, but these other nations believe in their religions. So it says, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. Drunken meaning influence. What was the influence? Democracy. To be Americanized. And when they come in, most of them come in with suits on. You know, Brooks Brothers suits. Some of them will wear their garb, but guess what? But that Arab that wears that Arab type garb, I guarantee you he got voted into office. Because what did they adopt? They adopted the democracy, which came from America. And the Europeans did the same thing, because the Europeans, prior to America, you had monarchs, you had kings. So what changed the whole system of the world? This democratic system. So that's the influence. That's the drink, the strong drink. It says the nations, and this is why scholars can't get this, because the scriptures are written in code. So you have to have the keys to break the code, to open the secret doors, to break down the mystery, to decipher. Decipher meaning to break the circle. The nations have drunken of her wine, Babylon's wine. The daughter of Babylon, the new Babylon, Babylon the Great, that great city. The wine, like I said, the wine, if you're going to take this literal, you give me some give me some documentation where all these nations lined up and drank some wine that the king of Babylon gave them. Therefore the nations are mad. And the word mad, let's look up the word mad. I just want to get the Hebrew meaning of the word mad. The word is halal. Okay, good. It says boast, to be boastful, to boast, make a boast, to boast glory, make one's boast, to make a fool of, make into a fool, to act madly, act like a madman. So basically that's talking about people in an uproar now. So let me come back. So let me read that again. Jeremiah 51 verse 7. Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth. The word there is aratazah, which literally means the earth. Drunken. What does it mean by being drunken? An influence. What is the influence? Democracy, not Christianity. The Japanese don't practice Christianity. They practice their own religions. You may have a small percentage of them that think that they're Christians. But what they adopted from Babylon the Great is their democracy, because in Japan you have a democratic system. China, you have a democratic system. Russia, you have a democratic system. It says the nations have drunken of her wine, took your philosophy, your democracy, therefore the nations are mad. They're saying this democracy stuff is all BS. But because most of their leaders are actually puppet leaders. It goes on to say in the 8th verse, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so be she if so be she may be healed. But she's not going to be healed. It said we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. So we're in that time now. They're trying to heal you. This guy, this individual, Donald J. Trump, aka Nero, he's trying to, he's campaigning to become president again, to be reelected, and he's saying that he's going to make America great again. America is a shithole country. He called them other countries a shithole country. America has turned into a shithole country. You got people leaving by the thousands out of LA. You got the billionaires and multi-millionaires leaving New York. New York is like a damn desert, man. A lot of them are moving into the suburbs. A lot of them are actually leaving the country. Who made this statement? I believe it was Jim Rogers, if I'm not mistaken. You can watch him. He's like a financial guy. And he made a statement. He said, England, how did he say it? He said, England, or the UK, was the power of the 19th century. The US was the power of the 20th century. And he said China is the power of the 21st century, because you have billionaires, you have people, Chinese people becoming billionaires overnight. As we speak, they're turning to billionaires. They're calling their moms, "Oh, I just made it, I'm a billionaire, I'm worth $2 billion." Anyway, it says 8 verse again, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her, take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. Sounds like a tongue, it comes off like a tongue twister to me. It says 9 verse, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. So America is not coming back. The last few things they're going to do to try to save this system is institute a microchip, whether it be in your hand, right hand, left hand, forehead, and they're going to do away with paper money. And what their plan is to create a world money system, but that money system will be a digital system. So you would need a credit card, a debit card, and ultimately you would need a chip or your smartphone. You get a particular app. Yeah, that app is connected to your bank account and to your medical records and to your driving records. And then there's going to be a point where you don't have to pull out a driver's license, insurance. Everything's going to be in that app, which eventually is going to be in your chip. So that's the last thing that's going to happen before this place gets taken out. Anyway, so we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Forget about her. Forget about her. You know what forsake her means? Let me bring up another tab. Give me a second. Okay, this is Isaiah 13. Isaiah 13. Bear with me for a minute. Let's hope I can find it. I'll find it eventually. Okay, good. I found it. I'll start at the 12th verse. Isaiah 13 verse 12. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. And Ophir, by the way, is America. That's what they call when Solomon had his navy go back and forth to the Americas. It was called the land of Canaan, and it was also called Ophir. And then Brazil was named after the Hebrew word barazal, which means iron, because you had a lot of iron and metals down there in Brazil. Anyway, and oil. It says, therefore, 13 verse, Isaiah 13 verse 13, therefore I will shake the heavens. And how is the Most High going to shake the heavens? With those missiles, which is one of his hosts, which is one of his armies. And the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of Yahweh of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. So in the day of the Lord's fierce anger, that's when he's going to let those missiles fly. And it shall be as the chase roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. And a sheep that no man taketh up. If you see a dead sheep that's been half eaten, tore up, and half rotten, it says as a sheep that no man taketh up. A sheep that no man taketh up is a sheep that you didn't just freshly kill. I'm going back to the ancient world. So the missiles are going to completely destroy you. It said they shall every man turn to his own people. So they're going to do that before the missiles hit this place. Because you had a lot of people come from different countries to America because this was considered the promised land, the streets being paved by gold. Everything's dying in America. So what are these people doing? They're going back to their lands. Every man turn to his own people and flee everyone into his own land. Now it says everyone that is found in America shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them, you Uncle Toms, shall fall by the sword. Now what sword is going to thrust them through? The missiles, because the missiles are also referred to as a sword. The Most High's great and mighty sword. It says their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes because of those missiles. You're going to have pregnant women that's going to die. You're going to have women pushing a stroller. They're going to get hit with a missile with their babies. You're going to have Jake Israelites being destroyed. You're going to have Jake women pregnant. You're going to have people having weddings, or going out to the movies, or sitting home relaxing. You're going to have people eating. You're going to have people, you're going to have motherfuckers having sex, and the missile's going to take them out while in the middle of them having sex. You're going to have Moabs. You're going to have Moes, dealing with each other, and they're going to be put out while they're in the sex act, man. You're going to have people arguing, and all of a sudden they're going to see a light, and all of a sudden, boom, it's all over. 16 verse again. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. So there's going to be a lot of ravishing after the missiles drop. But before the missiles drop, behold, I will stir up the Medes. The Medes represent the Russians against them. Now we know that the Medes is an ancient people. It's not the Edomites in Russia. But if you take a biblical map and you go to the land of the Medes and you go directly up, that's Russia. That's Russia right there. Now Isaiah would have put in Russia, but there was nobody. No one said, well, that place right there is Russia. So all he can say was the Medes. So it says Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, which is real money, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces. The bows represent the silos, will come out of the silos missiles, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare the children. And it says, here it goes, Babylon again. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms. What made it the glory of kingdoms? Because it made the whole earth drunken with their wine. The beauty of the Chaldeans excellently shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. So the ancient Babylon wasn't destroyed like Sodom and Gomorrah. That was a surgical strike. Anyway, let's come back. Okay, let me go to the 9th verse. Jeremiah 51:9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. That's why you're gonna have people. You have people as I speak right now. You have people packing up and going back to Pakistan. You got people packing up and going back to Iran. You got people going back to the Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic. You got people going back to the various Latin countries. You got people going back to China. Because there's no money out here. This place is dead. This place is not coming back. And so we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. So whether Trump gets back into office or Joe Biden becomes the new president, they're not gonna change anything. The Most High gave you a time limit, and your time limit is up. You can't buy another second of your rulership. You can't add another second to your rulership. What is that? Job 14:5. It said, 9th verse, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Trump is not going to make America great again. Forsake her, forsake her. You got these other nations leaving it, going back to their homelands. And let us, and you Negroes, you teach that black African shit. You ain't going back to Africa in droves. You're gonna stay here, man, because you don't know nothing about the African culture, man. It says, and let us go everyone into his own country. So these are talking about these nations that's in the great melting pot, which is America. And you didn't have a great melting pot in ancient Babylon. For her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of Yahweh, our power. So get right with the Most High. Get right with God. That's an inside joke. Make bright the arrows. The arrows are talking, like I said, you had a couple of guys that left GMS years ago, back in 2014, and they were saying the arrows is not talking about missiles, it's talking about actual arrows. No, it's talking about missiles. If it actually said, instead of saying make bright the arrows, if it actually said get ready in the silos, the ICBM missiles, do you think we'd be able to read this book? They'll destroy this book, man. This is written in codes, and the Most High has to give you the keys to open these codes, these spiritual codes. It said, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. That's their what do you call it? Their defense system. Because in a nuclear war, you're gonna have missiles going from one continent to the other, and then the other continent's going to shoot off retaliate by shooting their missiles off. So you're going to have some sort of defense system, and that defense system would be, for the most part, these satellites which is set up to blow these other missiles coming from the opposing country. It said, the Lord Yahweh have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, which are the Russians, and the Arab nations, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. It says, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watchers strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, for the Lord hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. So there's nothing that you can do to stop this destruction. When you go back to Isaiah the 13th chapter, it says that they're not going to regard silver or gold. Why? Because either Trump or Biden or something's going to happen where the Russians and other nations are going to get involved, and they're going to go to war, and they're going to try to do something to stop the war, to stop the destruction. Because what is that term? What is it? Mutually assured destruction. If I'm saying it right, somebody can put it in the comment section. Meaning, if you got these ICBM missiles, you have to make sure there's not going to be a war with these missiles, because it's going to. Denzel Washington said in that movie, that's a movie with Gene Hackman. He said the true enemy is war itself. If somebody remembers a movie, Crimson Tide or something like that, which was a great movie, a great war movie, you know. And he said that he said the greatest, the true enemy of war is, I believe it's war itself. I believe he said that. You can look that up. So just right here, I can hit the stop button. Just right here, we know that this Babylon in Jeremiah the 51 chapter is not talking about ancient Babylon. And what you could do is you can put Jeremiah 51 verse 7, and then put in commentary. These so-called Bible experts, they don't understand what's going on. They don't have the codes. They don't have the keys to break the codes. but they watch us, you know. Okay, let me go. Let me try this. Okay, what I did was I went to Revelation the 17th chapter. I'm not going to go into Revelation the 18th chapter on this video. Somebody else can tackle that. But what I did was I put in I typed in the word drunk. Okay, it appears in Revelation 17 and 2. It's also in Revelation 17 and 6. So Revelation 17 and 1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore. The great whore is another way of saying Babylon the Great. That great city, Babylon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a word search for the word Babylon, just for the book of Revelation. See how many times that pops up. It said, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, which is goes into detail in Revelation the 18th chapter, that sitteth upon many waters. Now those waters represent, let me jump down to 15 verse, Revelation 17 verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and kings and tongues. So America is a great melting pot. And anything that you can get on the planet Earth, let's say you want to go to Greece to get some Greek food, you can get some of the best Greek food is in America. Why? Because you had Greeks come to America. Some of the best Elamite food, as we call it, East Indian food, you can go to India, or you can go to Google and say Indian food. So you can pretty much get anything in America. But why? Because this is a great melting pot. Why do we have a taste for Italian food? Because you had Italian immigrants come over here, and what did they do? They brought their recipes with them. Even a hamburger came from Hamburg, Germany, which is actually a Hamburg steak. But what we did, we made it into a sandwich, which was that idea came about with a man called the Earl of Sandwich. I forget his actual full name, but he was known as the Earl of Sandwich. He said, "Oh, take a piece of meat, a steak, put two pieces of bread on it, and give it to me." And his name was Sandwich. So that's where the word sandwich come from, named after an individual. It said, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, which is America, that sitteth upon many waters. Now you're going to hate us for teaching this, but guess what? It's going to come, whether we say it or not. It says, what is Romans 3? What is that, about the third verse? Romans 3 and 3, Romans 3 and 2. You can read that. I'm not going to read it. It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. Now what does that mean? Does that mean that you had all these other nations' kings come and have sex with the president? No. It's talking about you're in bed with them, meaning you're doing deals with them. You have treaties with them, agreements, compacts. Look that word up. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And the reason why they accepted it, because they received aid. That's in the book of Obadiah. They received aid, or they were threatened with being destroyed in a war. So the nation didn't say, well, I'm going to accept a democracy and not be a monarch anymore because it makes so much sense. No, they either gave you aid or they either said, we're going to destroy you if you don't accept. That's the thing. The U.S. modernized Japan, and they showed you that in the movie The Last Samurai. They said if you don't during that time period, if you don't modernize Japan, we're gonna. They had like ships, U.S. ships, ready to, and it was like, this was like around World War One. I got to go into the history, and that's why you have modern the skyscrapers and the technology. It all came from America, China. You know, all those skyscrapers and those beautiful places you can go to in China. It's all modernized now. It's all you know, it went from the ancient world to modernization. It says, the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of a fornication. Now, what I said I was going to do, I was going to look up the word drunk. See, your average everyday Christian, they don't know about that. All they know is the blood of Jesus. I know Jesus, you know, Jesus did this and Jesus did that, and I just believe in Jesus. They don't know anything about the scriptures. And Vocab Malone, he's just now beginning to understand the scriptures by following us. He's really following us, man. Okay, here we go. I want to look up the word drunk.
Strong's G 3184. Methuo.
It means to be drunk, metaphorically, of one who has shed blood or murdered profusely. It should be close to influence. As a matter of fact, what I found out in pulling that word up, drunk is only mentioned in Revelation 17. It says in Revelation 17 verse 6, and I saw the woman, which is America, drunken with the blood of the saints. Now what is that talking about? That makes me think of Daniel 7 chapter. They made war with the saints. What does it mean they made drunken with the blood of the saints? When they came over here, they attacked the tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Gad, and then eventually you had Edomites go down into Central and South America, you know, and wage war against them. And then they went over there to West Africa and got the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and put them in ships and brought them over here. And in doing that, they killed some of them. So it says, I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. This place became great because of the backs of the slaves, which were Jakes. And it said they were saints. These are Israelites. So you mess with the wrong people, man. You came against the Most High's people. So now the Most High is going to bring you down. You're not the Most High's people. You're the sons of Satan. You're the devil. It says, Revelation 17 verse 2, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication. They slept. They went to bed with this nation, with this system, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunken through her influence with the wine of a fornication. So they made deals. That's why it says in Obadiah. Let's go to that, Obadiah, and then we're going to close. I was a little long-winded on this. I'll go to the 7th verse. Obadiah 1 verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee, your allies, and ultimately all of your European allies, deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread. Bread represents money. Your aid have laid a wound unto thee. There is none understanding in him. So ultimately, they're going to use your money, and then they're going to wind up shooting missiles on you any damn way. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom, and it's on to the next one. Shalom.